Hey guys, it's Jona. For a while now I've wanted to do an Emetophobia Q&A since so many of you have said that my Emetophobia videos are really helpful to you. That always means so much to me because that's why I make them. I make them in the hopes that it'll help somebody out there. So I thought it would be good to answer a few of your questions. I got them off of Twitter and Instagram, and I said you could ask a question even if you didn't have the phobia, because I feel like if you don't have the phobia, it's even more important for you to understand what the phobia is so that you can support people that do have it. I have no plan with this video. I haven't really even looked at the questions because I just want like my honest thoughts to come across. So hopefully something good comes out of this, because if not, I'm going to be really sad. This is a good one. How do you know you have emetophobia? Like, where's the line between just really disliking being sick and having the phobia? Such a great question. I love this question. Thank you for asking. Nobody out there likes getting sick. Well, maybe like somebody out there does, but that's interesting. It's not a pleasant experience. It's not nice. It's not fun. Nobody likes being out of commission like that. Nobody likes being out of control like that. Like, nobody likes it. But having the phobia affects your everyday life. It makes you avoid things. It makes you like overanalyze every feeling in your stomach. It like kind of takes over your everyday life. People that just really dislike getting sick typically only deal with it when they are actually sick. But emetophobes deal with it every single day, for the most part. It's the like avoidance part of it and the, what is the word I'm looking for? The like prevention techniques that make it an actual phobia and not just a dislike. Oh, I feel like I'm not making any sense. Emetophobes will avoid getting sick at all costs. I know that I do. For example, like emetophobic people sometimes have trouble going out to eat or eating things that like they didn't prepare themselves. They avoid places where people could potentially be sick. They might wash their hands more, they might use hand sanitizer more. But people that just dislike being sick just dislike it. You know what I mean? Does this make sense? I feel like I'm not making sense. I'm gonna move on to the next question. But basically, emetophobia is not a dislike of being sick. It's an intense, crippling fear of being sick. Is it a phobia that can be developed at any time for anyone? Mine started my sophomore year of high school, but a lot of people experience it when they're really young or really old. It can happen to anyone of any age. Like, you can't look at someone and be like, oh, they have emetophobia. Like, it could be anybody. And it's more people than you're probably thinking it is. So yes, it can develop at any time. How do you deal with someone being sick in a film when there was no sign it was coming? Oh, that's always so frustrating. I hate that. I've actually been working on a project for quite some time now, and it's a website where I'm organizing movies that aren't safe and movies that are safe. I really want to launch it soon. It's so exciting to me. There's a lot of other stuff on the site. I really like the way I have it organized. I am so proud of it. So I hope I can launch that soon. My biggest thing about that is that usually there is warning, like some sort of sign is going to happen. Whether the character says they aren't feeling well, or that they like drank too much, or they start looking a certain way, usually there is some sort of small warning. So if you think that something is going to happen, close your eyes and plug your ears, even if something doesn't happen. But try to enjoy the movie anyway, because you don't want to miss out on a good movie. How do you explain it to your family? Mine is reaching a point where I know I have to tell them, but I'm not sure how to approach it. So when you tell your family, sometimes it's helpful to have printed resources for them to look at. I know that might feel really formal, but sometimes it's easier for them to understand it from like a factual sheet of paper than it is for them to understand it from you. Because your family loves you and they care really deeply about you, so if you're suffering, it makes them sad and it makes them like less willing to get it, because like they mix their own emotions with it, if that makes sense. So I would print resources. On the site that I mentioned I'm making earlier, I have a resource page, so that will definitely help. But there are things that you can just Google, like emetophobia fact sheet, and it should come up. But just be honest with them. They love you and they want to support you. Just go in and be like, this is something that I'm dealing with and I really need your support. And be ready for any questions they might have, because they will probably have questions. Give them time to process it, which I know is hard. But especially with parents, it's hard for them to accept that like you are suffering and like you're going through something, so they might need some time to let it like sink in and let it like feel okay. But just be honest and be prepared. If I were in the presence of someone with emetophobia and the thing happened to someone, what would be the best thing to do for that person? So the question is, if you're with someone with emetophobia and someone else gets sick, how can you help the person with emetophobia? Get them away from the situation. That would be the number one thing. Once you have them away, ask them what you can do for them. Do they need water? Do they need gum? Do they want to leave? Because they might want to leave. And whatever they need, let that be okay. Like, even if you're at a place that like you really want to be at, if that person needs to leave, let that be okay. Don't be judgmental. Don't be like, oh my gosh, it's fine, they're over there, we're over here. Like, listen to the person with emetophobia and take care of them. Like, that has happened to me. I have been around someone that has gotten sick, and it's terrifying. Like, I can't even put it into words. It is so scary. Honestly, just being supportive, getting them away from the situation, and asking them what they need. That is what I would suggest. How do your parents react and your friends? I told one friend about my emetophobia and she said I needed to stop being a baby. That is so rude and so mean and so unacceptable. Not a lot of people know what emetophobia is. I always have to explain it. What about you? Did people know what it is? When I developed emetophobia, I didn't really have to like tell my parents formally because they saw it build up. I talked about how my emetophobia developed in my emetophobia story video, so I'm not gonna like rehash that. But that night, the night that happened, I was up the whole night. And for the days and weeks after it, I was constantly scared that I was sick. So it was like, they saw it happen. It wasn't like I was dealing with it alone and they didn't know and I had to tell them. Like, we went through the development together, so I didn't have to really tell them. But telling friends, my experience, it was usually pretty positive. I felt like a lot of my friends wanted to know what was going on because suddenly I was acting very different and they were probably really confused. So when I told them, it was mostly like, thank you for telling me. But I did have some people that just really didn't get it. Like, one girl at my lunch table would make jokes about getting sick and I'd ask her to stop and she would be like, it's nothing, and I was like, it is something. Some people are just jerks, and if they react that way, then you really don't need them in your life. If they are a true friend, they will be supportive and they will be understanding and they'll be looking up information about it so that they can best help you. Your friend that told you to stop being a baby, they are wrong and you really don't need them because that is not a true friend. That is not how a friend acts. And that's really unfortunate. It's really sad when people act that way and I really wish that they didn't. And I do feel like a lot of people don't really know what emetophobia is because it's not really talked about a lot. I feel like now it's more talked about than when I first developed it, because when I developed it I was like, what even is this? But now I feel like there are more people that are like opening up about it, so people kind of know what it is but kind of don't. So I do have to explain it more often than I don't have to explain it. But that's okay because I look at that as like a teaching moment. Because if they don't know what it is and I explain it to them, that gives them awareness and they can pass that awareness to their friends and their family, and it's like a chain reaction. So I don't look at it as a negative thing. I look at it more as like a teachable moment. I don't know why I'm so afraid of it. It's pretty stupid when I think about it. It's not stupid. It's not stupid at all. I'm always like, next time I'm nauseous, I won't stress out. But then when I actually get nauseous, I'm stressing out, crying, and more. Is this relatable to you? Yes, so relatable. I've been dealing with emetophobia for 5 years, almost 6. And I still struggle with that nauseous feeling. I would say pretty much every day I feel nauseous. And I'm not sick. I'm usually nauseous because I'm hungry. I totally confuse hunger and nausea all the time. And especially after I was sick, I was like, I am cured, I am great. But I still worry. I still get really scared that it will happen. And that's okay. It's a phobia. It's a legitimate phobia. It's not stupid. What you're feeling isn't stupid. If you struggle every day, if you struggle once a week, if you struggle once a month, if you struggle once a year, it's not stupid. However you're feeling is totally valid and totally okay. There's no right way to have a phobia. There's no right way to react to a phobia. You're okay. How to tell people not to say direct trigger words that are possibly triggering, / dealing with people saying things like that. It's hard. It's really hard. I feel like before emetophobia, I didn't realize how many people use triggering words in everyday life. And not only like in my real life, but in movies and television. It's actually really common, and that is so weird to me. I never noticed that but now I have, and it's weird. My immediate family, so like my parents and then my best friend Elise, they are all very careful about saying trigger words. In fact, they really don't ever say trigger words in my presence. But once you get outside of like that close circle, it's a little harder. Like, people are aware, but they forget a lot. And I guess I just try to remember that like it's not intentional, and that just because they say a word doesn't mean it's going to happen to me or happen to them. Just like taking the power away from the word helps me, but it does upset me sometimes, and it does get my anxiety going sometimes, and it's difficult. It's definitely difficult. But just like a friendly reminder, like, hey, that word bothers me, could you avoid saying that, please? That can help, because sometimes people just forget. And I try not to take it personally, and I try not to get like too upset about it, but sometimes I'm like, can you not say it? Like, it's not hard. A lot of people ask if like people tell me I'm over dramatic, and the weirdest thing is that the most I've been told that is online. Like in YouTube comments, I get that a lot. Like, I've literally heard the phrase, this dramatic phobia, these dramatic people. It's not dramatic, like it's not dramatic at all. I don't know why people say that. Clearly they are uneducated about it, and that's really unfortunate because they are adding to a really, really awful stigma. I feel like that's the case with a lot of phobias, like not just emetophobia. Like arachnophobia and trypophobia, things like literally any phobia, a lot of people are probably told that they're being dramatic, when in reality, they're not being dramatic at all. Phobias are hard, they are taxing, they take so much out of you, and they change your life. So if someone tells you that you are being dramatic, they are so super very extremely wrong. Oh, it just makes me so mad when people say that. It makes me so angry. When people are dismissive, when people are rude, when people purposefully trigger a phobia, like, I just cannot accept that. I have had people literally purposefully trigger my phobia because they don't like me. How awful of a person do you have to be to do that? It's mind-blowing, honestly, and I really hate it. You are not dramatic, you are not crazy, you are not like any of those negative words associated with having a phobia. You are none of them. You are strong, you are a fighter, and you are important, and you are valid. And if anybody tells you otherwise, like in school or something, you can just cut them out because they are really not worth your time. So that is it for my Emetophobia Q&A. I can definitely do another one in the future if there are some things that you feel I didn't talk about. I really hope this helps somebody out there, because emetophobia is really hard. It's a hard thing, and I'm so happy to have a platform where I'm able to support people out there that are struggling with it, because I know that in my most difficult moments, that is something that I really want. I love you all. Stay beautiful, you people. Bye!